back to another Mike's Garage video. Today we're going to talk about replacing the clutch plates and how we do that. So stay tuned. So the background story on this is that I got myself into a situation on a trail where we couldn't get out. Rocks, kind of a Rubicon type trail. Got ourselves in there and it was not really rideable anymore. It was rock gardens. We got about 5 miles in on a 10-mile trail, realized we couldn't turn around, so we had to keep going. And about 4 hours later, when we got the two bikes out of there, my bike, the clutch was gone. The bike wouldn't move anymore. I was able to make the adjustment right here on the slave cylinder, pull that out, and it allowed enough bite just to get home. So I went to the dealer and I asked them to give me a quote on what it would take to replace the clutch. They gave me a quote to replace the clutch assembly. That's the outer basket, the inner basket, the clutch plates, and the pressure plate, and all the hardware with that. And that was the clutch assembly was about $780. And the cost to install was another, I don't know, $1,000. So they were basically talking $1,800, almost $1,900 to replace the clutch assembly. So I took it apart and take a look, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is what I saw. We're going to take measurements of the plates. Ultimately, I ended up replacing just the discs, so I saved myself a ton of money. And it was a success, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So stay tuned. Okay, here's the clutch basket and the inner clutch piece or drum without the clutch discs. So now looking at this, you can see that it's actually in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of rubbing on these surfaces here. I can barely feel any curvature or anything from the plates. The inner drum too, I feel that I don't feel any divots or anything. So it all looks pretty good. I mean, you can see it looks pretty good after about 20,000 miles. And one really rough ride, which is what caused me to replace my my clutch plates. But otherwise, there it is. It looks pretty good. Okay, here's the clutch plates I pulled off in order of outer to inner. The three outer plates are different than than the middle ones, and then of course the last one is the same as the outer. So I did measure these, and I did the thickness test on them. The two outer ones were out of spec. You can actually even see on this one here, the paws there are completely worn off, or just about worn off on that one there. Compared to the outside, you can kind of see that. And then the inner ones were down about halfway. These are the inner ones, you can see are thicker. There was still about half the clutch left on that, but after that one ride, it really heated it up and took its toll, so I'm replacing those. The stack height was measured, and the stack height for these ones was actually low. So it's another good reason that I did that, probably because the paws are so worn. Here's the two inner rings. One is flat, one's kind of got this conical shape on it. Okay, so you see that. Okay, here's the newly assembled stack of clutch plates. I measured them and they are in spec, the width of each of those plates. So now I'm going to measure the stack height
So let's see if I can do this with 5. Spec is 50.1 plus or minus 0.3. All right, so I got the correct thickness as the manual says. Now it's time to soak them in oil and put them on the bike. Okay, so here's the specified engine oil, and that's what I'm gonna put inside there so I can get these things wet. It says put them back together with oil on them. Okay, now I'm gonna put the I've got the anti-jetter and the seat ring already in there. Rings already in there. Now I'm going to assemble this. On the in the manual, it tells you to assemble it in a very specific way, with the specific plates in certain positions. So you got to pay attention to that. And you have to put it together with oil on it. I have the towel down here just to catch any oil from the oil that's on the plates. Okay, here's the pressure plate. You can see mine's kind of discolored, probably from the heat, all that. Check the bearing. Bearing looks good. Look this backside. You want to check this, the pressure side of this to make sure that there's no issues. Okay, so I checked that. You can kind of see right there, a little bit of a blemish, but I can't really feel it. There's another one. Well, right there you can see a little bit there. So again, you know, I can't feel anything, but you can just see there's a little bit of scarring there from from wear on the clutch, but otherwise it looks pretty good. I'm gonna put this back in the way it is. Okay. Okay, when putting this back in, the last pressure plate has teeth that need to fit between these teeth, and it's a little tricky to do. Let's see if we can get that on there. It's a little easier if you push up on the, there we go. Fit nice and tight, snug. You want to make sure that that pressure plate fits right up against that last friction plate, right up to it, okay? Put the springs in. This plate has these little ridges that fit over the inside of the spring. Put the bolts in. Triumph calls these fixings. Sounds like a pretty stupid name to me, but that's what Triumph is calling them. Okay. Now these have to be tightened pretty evenly. And the torque on this is 10 Newton meters, not Newton meters, right? Yes, I guess, yes, 10 Newton meters. So I'll have to break out the torque wrench for that and get those down. You can kind of tighten them by hand a little bit, okay? All right, there we are. We're bolted back up. Each one of those, you got to do it evenly, right? So you just do a couple turns each all the way in. It's 10 Newton pounds, which is, or Newton pounds, Newton meters. The torque spec, that's 88.5 inch pounds. And so there you go. Okay, Triumph sends the gasket kit with 2 gaskets. One for this piece here, which is the timing, and this one here for the clutch cover. It's kind of, you got to pull this piece off because you can't get to this one bolt without this case piece off. So it comes with 2 to these, and then they send you a whole bag of brand new bolts that have Loctite on them. Okay. Okay, I'm putting the case back on here. There's pins down here. There's 3 pins. Put the gasket on first, pins on. This here, you gotta spin this just right so it catches that head in there before this will go on. And there is a little notch right up on top here. You can see it if you look down on yours. You want that notch kind of facing this way, okay? On that side right there. And then bolt it back up. Okay, here we are all bolted back up. These 2 bolts are longer than the rest of these, okay? The torque spec for these is 10 Newton meters. And there's this very specific pattern at which they want you to tighten those up. Same with these ones here. You'll have to look on the tech manual for that, or I can show you here in this video. Maybe I'll show you here in a bit. You got to line this, but there's a little pin marking right there with the slot in the this arm. Has to line up, okay? And that's it. She's all bolted back up. And now we need to bleed the clutch.